For my final project, I'm going to be doing a narrated presentation on religion and heroism. My thesis for this project is that the definition of heroism is impacted by religion. By examining heroic characters from Beowulf and Le Morte d'Arthur, the difference between pagan heroism and Christian heroism can be examined. Out of all the books that we read in class, I picked Le Morte d'Arthur and Beowulf because they represent polar opposite settings while still having characters with similar goals, just driven by different motivations. So, what is Christian heroism? As defined in Sarah Fielding's True Christian Philosophy, Christian heroes are those who are good natured in spirit, compassionate, humble, meek, forgiving, and willing to submit to God. The character that demonstrates all of these values in the Morte d'Arthur is Sir Galahad. Something that I'll delve deeper later into this character is how Galahad is the near perfect personification of a Christian hero. On the other hand, one that strives to follow the values of Christian heroism but often fails to do so is Sir Lancelot. While good intentioned, he suffers from putting his own desires ahead of those that Fielding would say is the characteristics of a heroic Christian. Lancelot will be used as a control group in defining what a hero is in the setting of Le Morte d'Arthur, so it becomes clear as to why Sir Galahad is the best example of a Christian hero. One of the knights sent on the quest to find the Holy Grail, Galahad faces many trials testing his faith, and runs into people looking for salvation and receive it when they come into contact with him. Galahad ends a man's torment of having to burn for hundreds of years and is reburied by his own command. Galahad finds a man who has been waiting for him for over 400 years to give him death, with which he does with an embrace. Galahad, along with Sir Percival and Sir Bors, are thrown into jail, where they assume they will die, but are kept alive by the power of the Holy Grail, feeding them every day. His strength in his faith and his overall piety proves to be rewarding in the end, as after being released from jail, he becomes ruling king for 1 year, with which after he ascends into heaven, the goal of every Christian hero during this time. Like I said before, Galahad represents the ideal Christian hero. He is forgiving and typically thinks first before acting, something that many of the other knights of the Round Table fail to do. His good nature is what allows him to perform so well. Fielding sees that just attempting to follow heroic Christian values is not good enough. She states that good nature must be strengthened by Christianity, which is both constitutive of and a supplement to good nature against the threat of deism. It's not as simple as just mimicking what others do around you. Fielding states that who you are as a person, ignoring how religion plays into it, matters just as much, if not more. Lancelot, on the other hand, falls under the problem of not having a good nature that can be strengthened by Christianity. Even if it was not intentional from the author, Lancelot acts as a foil, in a sense, to Galahad, showing the audience that all the wrong things to do if someone intends to be a Christian hero. Though, through attempting to be a good knight, Lancelot shows the audience why he's considered to be the black sheep of the Knights of the Round Table. He sleeps with Guinevere, who not only is a married woman, but also is the wife of the king that he's serving. Also, when presented with siding with good or evil, Lancelot often ends up siding with evil, under the intentions of doing something for vainglory. One of the biggest examples being when he witnesses two groups of knights fighting, one in white armor and the other in black. Lancelot decides to help the weaker party, in this case the Black Knights, to be chivalrous, but ends up losing and being dragged off the battlefield. He realizes that even in his attempts to be chivalrous, he ends up being more sinful than before. Even in visions, he is reminded of his failure to be a holy knight, as God comes down from heaven and blesses multiple knights, except for him, being told that he has taken too many pleasures on the worldly plane. Against all odds, Lancelot does actually find the Holy Grail, but ends up being smote down after being warned not to enter the chamber with which the Holy Grail is being held in. Lancelot truly demonstrates the idea that Fielding proposes. You can be as religious of a person as you want, but to be heroic, you must have been good natured in the first place. Both characters, Galahad and Lancelot, attempt to follow the values of Christian heroism, but only one succeeds. By being humble, forgiving, and willing to submit to God, Galahad achieves the Holy Grail quest and ascends to heaven, whereas Lancelot, who suffers from seeking out vainglory, attempts to go against the visions of God and is unforgiving of himself, fails to be a good heroic Christian. On the other side of the coin is pagan heroism. Compared to how heroism is tackled in Le Morte d'Arthur, Beowulf focuses on what it means to be a hero from a very different perspective, one without religion involved. The heroic characters in Beowulf followed ideals and values that have no relation to serving a higher power in any way. What people from the Mort Arthur would consider pagan heroes are those who show courage in battle, fight for their land and people, and strive to maintain peace between neighboring territories and their own people as well. Oren Falk, author of A Dark Age Peter Principle, Beowulf's Incompetence Threshold, states that to be a hero in the setting of Beowulf, one must be associated with battle, war, prowess, courage, bravery, self defense, and defense of one's kingdom or nation. Unlike Christian heroism, which has a definitive goal or end where the hero hopefully ends up in heaven, pagan heroism often lacks a good ending, unless the hero dies in battle. This will be the focus more when discussing Hrothgar as a pagan hero, but heroes in these settings fight for gold, land, and their people, with many ending up becoming kings or some other role akin to a king. At that point, they can no longer be a pagan hero as the responsibility of one contradicts the duties of a king. To show this, I'll be talking about Hrothgar, like I said, but I'll also be examining Beowulf. Beowulf is the epitome of a pagan hero. He travels across the ocean, dealing with extreme storms, but still continues, entering a foreign land, only knowing that there is a monster there to slay and its name. He catches the monster by surprise and kills it, doing something that no other person was able to do before he arrived. He then fought its mother, and 50 years later, he tried to kill a dragon and died in battle as a king. He does all of this to prove himself a strong warrior, to help bring back all of those people, and potentially gain some land along the way. The goals of this and many other pagan heroes of the time are all physical, earthly rewards, compared to the goals of Christian heroes in that they spiritually reside in that they have spiritual desires of reaching heaven. Beowulf does not even consider doing what he does for a higher power, but instead for his own glory, kind of in a way similar to Lancelot's desire to do things, but he would always end up doing something out of vainglory and not for God. Beowulf also acts as a peacekeeper between the Geats and the Danes, something atypical of the masculine heroes of Beowulf. Robert Morey, author of Beowulf's Androgynous Heroism, states that Beowulf, in a way, acts atypically to normal male characters in this book, as even though he's a warrior, he also travels from country to country as a peace weaver between nations, something that women are more often seen to be doing, not only in this book, but in many of the books we read in this semester. It is apparent that pagan heroes have more options as to how they can be heroic and are not bound by having to conform to male or female roles, which is often the opposite in Le Morte d'Arthur. All the knights in the story are men, and the women are not depicted as warriors, and they are often not at the front lines fighting. Instead, they take a more political approach to things. What's also interesting is Beowulf's approach to dealing with new people when he's older and takes the role of king. Even though Beowulf acts in a masculine way with vertical relationships, as in relationships with different statuses. So, for example, his relationship as a king to his people. He also, when he crosses territory borders prior to becoming king and looking to seek glory, he becomes more feminized in his ways by having to keep the peace between Hrothgar's people and his, something, again, like I mentioned, atypical of male characters. Hrothgar also shares similar experiences with Beowulf when it comes to ruling. The reader first meets Hrothgar when Beowulf meets with the Danes for the first time, and Hrothgar welcomes Beowulf, as he is seen as a possible solution to his problem. Hrothgar is more than happy to send out Beowulf to possibly kill Grendel and solve the problem that's been plaguing the Danes for years. Even though he's happy to be doing so, sending out someone else to handle your own problems, let alone someone from a foreign land, goes against all of the ideals of a pagan hero. Hrothgar shows weakness by telling someone else to handle his problems, but that's the plight of abandoning the role of hero and becoming king. The situation's, in a way, almost paradoxical. In this time, heroes fight to gain gold, land, and power, but at a certain point, they gain enough power where it's no longer an option for them to act as a hero, and instead they have to lead others. Rising to power and gaining authority in a pagan society means someone must give up the tools with which they were able to achieve their goals. Fielding reminds the reader that the hero follows a code that exalts indomitable will and valor in their individual, but society requires a king who acts for the common good, not for his own glory. Hrothgar may understand this, but at this point he's become too old and too powerful to be allowed to fight in battle by his people. Beowulf also understood this, which is one of the reasons why he went to fight the dragon. The only way for a king to die as a hero anymore is through battle when they have the chance. To Beowulf, he's only a winner in a sense, inasmuch as he attains glory through his doomed action of fighting the dragon. Hrothgar has passed his chance to die Hrothgar at this point in time has lost his chance to die as a winner or as a hero. So, in conclusion, Christian heroes achieve glory by following the ideals of Christianity, but good nature is still needed. Pagan heroes achieve glory through heroic deeds for their people, which leads to kinghood, taking away the ability to die as a hero. The difference between each type of heroism revolves around the impact of religion. Pagan heroes shine during their heyday, where they can provide their courage and skills in battle without having to appeal to a higher power. But they suffer from becoming too powerful and losing their ability to be heroes. Christian heroes shine in fulfilling their duties until they die, when they can enter heaven. But they struggle with having to follow these values to a T for their entire lives, as they are always being judged by God.